Good morning and welcome to yet another super clean product test video. Now since I still had these products, I figured why not use them again. Today's test I'm actually going to be using them on steel parts, so I'm not going to be worrying about discoloring any aluminum components. So I've got some steel parts here from some engines that I just happen to have on hand that I've taken apart, and I'll be cleaning these parts. Now there is one caveat to this testing, is that steel parts like the crankshafts, headers, exhaust headers, camshaft gears, valves, cam followers, those types of things, they typically are in very tight fitting areas, or they don't have a lot of slop, so I'm not really sure how much carbon buildup or residue is actually on these parts. I mean, as you can see, I'll show them to you here, what they look like, but whether this is actually carbon or rust, I'm not really sure. But because of the fitment of especially crankshaft parts and those things, now this header obviously doesn't have a fitment issue, so whatever's on here is probably carbon. But the other parts have very tight tolerances as to where they fit, so I'm not really sure how much carbon is really going to be burnt on and dried onto those parts. So I've got several little containers here, and I've got all three of my super clean products. I've got the two that are basically the same, it's just one comes in an aerosol can, and then I've got the wheel cleaner. Now this time I want to try and use the wheel cleaner just to see if I see anything different here. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to use with what. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put camshaft here, and these two valves, one's an exhaust valve, one's a intake valve. Obviously the exhaust valve has a little bit of carbon built up on it. I think I'm going to drop these things, and maybe even the cam followers, into this jar. And in this jar I'm going to spray some of the wheel cleaner just to see if there's any difference there. And now I've got a nice clean jar here. There's no residue or anything in there at all. And then I've got two crankshafts and an exhaust header here. I think the exhaust header I'm going to put in here, and maybe the Can-B crankshaft, and then this other Magnum 91 crankshaft I'll do here. So let's start here. Let's start with the foam cleaner, or the one that foams up. I know I shook it again. I don't know if I'm supposed to or not, but whatever. This one I am going to spray on this Magnum crankshaft. And I'm not going to rotate it over because I think this stuff is going to drop down and get on that fairly well. Let me actually throw my gloves on here. Okay, so here is the wheel cleaner. I've never opened this one up before. Let's see here. Off, on. This one I'm going to just spray a whole bunch in here. Okay, so this kind of comes out foamy too. And I'm just going to leave that sit there like that. And then here, you know, I could probably just spray this too. Actually, I really kind of want to submerge these though. I might kind of maybe tip those up a little bit so that they can be fully submerged in this product. And this is how we're going to let it just sit here for now. And we'll come back in a few minutes and see how things look. Okay, I'm going to leave these parts that were kind of tilted up in here a little bit longer, and we'll do those last. Let's go look at this crankshaft first. Now I did spray a little bit more on this crankshaft because when I moved it, it rolled over. And I think you can kind of see that maybe there was a little bit of material, some sort of material on this crankshaft. I'm just going to wipe it off. There was some material on there, apparently. I think a lot of this is just discoloration of the steel through usage. Now typically what I will do with something like this, especially this bearing journal area and the counterweight, is I'll usually take between 1500 and 2500 grit emery cloth with some 3-in-1 oil on it, and I'll just kind of clean these areas up real good with the wet emery cloth just to remove any of this material like this, because I really didn't expect this cleaner to do that. This cleaner is actually going to be removing things that are on the surface. It's not really going to be able to let me clean the rust or whatever this other discoloration is on here. You can see there's a little bit of stuff here, but I really wasn't sure what it was going to do with this crankshaft anyway. These are the parts that were in the wheel cleaner, and I've pulled my camshaft out here. Like I said, because of the color of the metal and the type of stuff that might or might not have been on it, I'm not sure what you're going to be able to see here. Does this part look clean and serviceable? Yes, it looks clean and serviceable. I don't know that it really looks a whole lot different. That's why RC airplane engines, I really just don't think that, even though this is a very good cleaner for a lot of tasks, I just don't know that it's a really good cleaner for our application for RC engines, because we already know that A, it discolors aluminum, and B, a lot of the stuff that's on steel parts is probably light surface rust, which usually might take a little bit of, like I said, with the emery cloth to really clean off better if you're inclined to do that. So to me, that doesn't really look a whole lot different. Let's pull these valves out. Valve, and we got cam followers here. I'm just gonna kind of rub these down. Now the exhaust valve, I'm not expecting it to just eat. That's the intake valve. It looks like there's still a layer of carbon on there that's going to need to be scraped off using a razor blade, which is how I normally clean valves. I'll use a razor blade and just scrape off the carbon, because the razor blade is a thinner and softer steel than these hardened steel parts. Again, I can still feel the carbon residue on this exhaust valve stem. I wasn't really expecting that this would just eat it away and dissolve it. Same thing with these cam followers. They didn't really have carbon residue on them. They may have just been, somewhat discolored, or, color changed because of how they are in the engine. Are they clean? Oh, well, I'm sure these parts are actually clean, but it doesn't make them look perfect and brand new. Now the last test will be this exhaust header, which has been sitting in here. This one might be the most telling, because let me wipe this thing out. So I'll put this on a white surface and you can see the material that's in this. Now this super clean was purple, and now it's kind of a little bit dirtier looking. So yeah, didn't really seem to do a whole lot for this exhaust header. I mean, sure, it cleaned off quite a bit. I guess it was on there, but I still see some discoloration here. What's up, teddy boy? Again, here's that CAM-B crankshaft. This is about the part that shows about the most improvement. It looked like maybe there may have been some carbon or a little bit of light rust on there. Counterweight's always kind of tough, because you never know what the counterweight color was to begin with. This one's obviously was a dark counterweight anyway. But again, see the discoloration on this? This is where I would get my 2500 grit or whatever very fine emery cloth with oil on it and clean that up. In fact, let me go get a piece of that now, and I'll demonstrate what this looks like now and what it will look like when I'm done with it. Okay, so here I've got just a piece of 2000. I got this from an automotive store. And I've got some 3-in-1 oil. I'm going to just, I'll use a fresh spot here, just put a little 3-in-1 oil on this. And this is how I'll clean these parts up. I'll just kind of now this isn't abrasive enough to really change the dimensional tolerances of the part, but it's enough to clean off a lot of other light rust that's on there. See, now I could go a little bit more, but I think you get the idea of what cleaning with a little 3-in-1 oil and this real fine grit emery cloth can do to a part. That's how I'll clean my parts up. Let me do the same thing with this, especially this little bearing journal part here. And front bearing part, because believe me, and this really helps putting new bearings on too, is getting all of that stuff back down to the basic tolerances for the engine. Will allow those bearings to go on a lot easier. See, I didn't do this for very long, but I think you can see that there's a big difference there. Now the other thing I'll do, just to make sure I got a pretty clean counterweight, is just kind of do a little bit of this. I don't spend a whole lot of time on it. It's just if there's surface rust on there, I usually want to try and get that off. So this is just a quickie. I could do a little bit more on this, but I think you get the point that these products are not necessarily going to just magically make things look so much better. I think you see that, again, Super Clean has a great product. It's excellent for doing a lot of cleaning chores around the house, automotive, that type of thing. I'm not going to be using this on cleaning engines because I just don't see any benefit of this over the LA's Totally Awesome that I've been using for years. I mean, yes, it does clean a lot of stuff off of parts, but I won't use it on engine cases because of what it does to the engine case color. But that's the second and final Super Clean product cleaning test that I'll be putting on this channel. And again, I want to thank Todd and Jessica from Super Clean. Thank you very much for sending me these products and giving me the opportunity to test them in this particular application. So thank you all for watching.